How's it going, Twitch? My name is Skull, and on behalf of East Asia Soft, welcome to today's stream. Pardon me while I magically move my head up and up and up. There we go. It's Sunday, which means I am continuing my playthrough of If My Heart Had Wings today. So, we got this beautiful, beautiful portrait of Amane right here. If you haven't seen anything yet, and you want to get caught up, all of our VODs are over on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/EastAsiaSoft, so be sure to go check that out. It's a absolutely beautiful game. The visuals are stunning, the characters are compelling, and the story is really, really fascinating. So, if you guys don't know what's going on, then I highly recommend you guys go and watch our previous streams. Also, we're on this scene. Let me just move my webcam there again. So, who looks best? Oh boy. Okay, first things first, I need to actually make 2 save files here. I'm going to save here and here. Because at this point we are now going to pick Kotori as our girl that we like the most. For some reason Amane is grayed out. As I understand it, it's because the Amane route is locked until you have beaten the game at least once. I'll be doing that on my own. Right now we are going to focus solely on our cute, adorable girl who needs all the hugs, Kotori. And I'm gonna save right there in that slot so that we remember which choice we made. There we go. Maybe Kotori's? Kotori was stunned and instantly went bright red. Mwah. Good night, everybody. What sort of response is that? So, I complimented her, but ended up in a worse position than before? Poor her. Kotori's face was bright. Okay, Kotori's face was bright red face as she stared down at the ground. Thankfully, the no-holds-barred question time ended without incident and it was time to go swimming. After completing my warm-up exercises, I went to work on inflating the rubber ring. No way. It'll be a big problem for me if you drown. Hahaha. Pretty soon you'll be glad that we've got the rubber ring from the bottom of your heart. As I mumbled quietly to myself, Kotori shot me a suspicious look. Alright, finished. I put the inflated rubber ring over Kotori's head. Hold on tight, don't let go. Agea and I lifted Kotori up together. Even though we were close to the shore, we headed off in a completely different direction. We carried her up to the top of a big rock at the base of the cliff. Oh, I see where this is going. By now, it seemed that Kotori had realized that what we had in store for her. Don't worry, it's really deep down there. With big grins on our faces, we swung Kotori's body back and forth like a pendulum. Here we go! 1, 2... Oh, that's a picture. As we threw Kotori with all our strength, she flew through the air in a beautiful upward curve. Splash! As she hit the surface, the water splashed up in a wide arc.
Whoa! さすが小鳥っていうだけあって派手に飛んだわね。
Yep, she flew pretty nicely. Kotori emerged from out of the ripples, clutching tightly to her rubber ring. Hey, are you okay?
生きてる楽しいもう一回もう一回
Aww. Kotori waved both hands like she was calling for an encore. Next jump is S rank difficulty, a triple aerial twist moonsault. We climbed down from the rock to go and get Kotori. Amane was waiting at the bottom with a sparkle in her eyes.
次は私の番だね。
Huh? You want to do it too?
先輩、高所恐怖症なんじゃ。このくらいなら平気だ。
There was no way we could refuse when she had such an expectant look in her eyes. Age and I didn't want to disappoint her, so lifted her up, ready to throw her off the rock. For some reason, she was heavier than Kotori. Maybe it was her curvier frame.
え、あまねちゃんもやるの？
I mean, Amane's also like, what? 6, 8 years older than Kotori, too, so...
ふわふわ。
Get out of the way! It's dangerous there!
行きますよ、先輩。
1, 2, 3! Whoosh! I don't know if she liked that. Amane flew through the air. Her trajectory was a little lower than Kotori's had been. Splash! This time the splash was much bigger, like a direct hit from a torpedo. Kotori and Hattie let out squeals as the water splashed over them. Amane, are you alright?
あれ？
Glub, glub. Amane was sinking. Amane?
あまねちゃん？
Kotori desperately paddled towards her and thrust her hand into the water. Can she not swim? Amane resurfaced. She grabbed onto Kotori's rubber ring.
沈む！うわ、ちょっと暴れないで。
Hang on, I'll be right there. I jumped in and rescued them. So, Amane wanted to do that despite not knowing how to swim.
死ぬところだった。泳げないことをすっかり忘れていたよ。
Classic Amane, ladies and gentlemen.
笑い事じゃないでしょ、あまねちゃん。
You can't swim, so why did you want to do it?
だって小鳥が楽しそうだったんだ。それにもしかするとパイロットスキルの訓練になるかもと思って。
I didn't know how it would help with that.
私、後でもう一回ね。
Okay, okay.
じゃあ私も。
You can't do it. Amane's whole life is just her wanting to do things and getting shot down because she's not good at those things. That's so sad. This was a game that we often used to play.
小さい頃さ、これやってホタルが泣いたよね。
We were quite ruthless back then. Matsatsugu would be close to tears too. However, this was like a rite of passage and helped us develop moral fiber. Maybe. So things had gotten off to a childish start, but we were finally making the most of our summer. I hadn't really been that active, so I went for a long swim. Kotori entrusted herself to the rubber ring, floating on the water with Hattie alongside her, while Agea and Amane built sandcastles. Those two really did like making things.
気持ちいいわね。
Kotori looked relaxed as she floated by the shore.
水の中にいると体が軽くて煩わしくなくていいわ。
Normally, even moving a short distance could be quite troublesome for her. In the water, she could move freely. Hattie was happy to be able to swim around as much as he liked. I passed by the two of them as I returned from my long-distance swim, then got out of the water and sprawled out on top of the sand. Whew! I sure am worn out after that.
おかえり。えらい遠くまで行ってたわね。
It's been a while since I did any exercise. I feel like I've lost some stamina.
にしてもすごい足してるわね。
Good night, everybody. Agea looked at my thighs. Huh? Oh, that's because I used to cycle.
見てよ小鳥。あんたのウエストくらいあるわよ。失礼ね。私そんなに太くないわよ。
As she said that, I couldn't help but look at Kotori's waist. It really was slim. It was hard to tell because she was always in her wheelchair, but Kotori had a slender body. Compared to her, Agea was...
何よ。
Nothing. I was just thinking of how well-bodied you are.
ふっくらだと小鳥が細すぎんの。アゲハはおやつを控えるべきね。
Kotori said this in a serious tone as she beckoned Hattie towards her.
おのれ。スタイルといえば。
Both girls stared straight at Amane, who was relaxing in the shade of a tree. She was in the water until just now, so her wet swimsuit clung tightly to her body, emphasizing her curves.
出るとこ出てて。
Good night, everybody.
引っ込むべきとこは引っ込んでる。
She really did have the ideal curvaceous body.
やっぱりあまねちゃんずるい。そうだそうだ。何のことかな。美人でスタイル良くて頭もいいなんて。ちょっと天然入ってるけど、そこもなんか愛嬌あってずるい。
Amane looked down at her body, slightly bewildered. She put her hands on her voluptuous breasts and lifted them. I can't believe I just said that out loud. I'm sorry. I know this is a silly... I know that... Okay. I knew because we'd been living together for a few days that Amane didn't seem to do anything to maintain her figure. Kotori and Agea didn't worry that much about it either, but in Amane's case, she didn't seem worried in the slightest. In other words, she was a natural beauty. It couldn't be helped if they said it was unfair.
スタイルといえば、葵くんが一番じゃないか?
That came completely out of the blue. Me?
ちょっと立ってみてくれないか?
I did as asked and stood up.
確かに。あ、本当だ。
Can you stop looking at me like that? It's kind of embarrassing.
いいじゃない。減るもんじゃなし。
You say that to me, but if I stared at you, you'd get angry, wouldn't you?
それは男子はエッチだからよ。私らは違うもんね。
What am I reading? What is this game now? What is this? Huh, so it's okay because they're girls then?
スラッと細いくせに筋肉質で、なんかいい体って感じ。
Don't say it like that.
ちょっとこっち来て。
I went to Kotari as she beckoned me over.
ちょっと触っていい？
Good night, everybody! Sure, but don't touch any weird places. Kotari poked my upper arm with her fingertip.
ね、力入れてみて。
I did as she said.
何これ？硬い。
Good night, everybody.
どれどれ？あ、本当だ。こんなに硬くなるものなのか。
What is this game I'm playing? They seemed intrigued as they poked my muscles. It tickled.
じゃあ、今度はここ。
Kotari pointed at my chest. Hey, if I touched your chest, you'd go totally nuts!
うん、怒る。
The end.
いいから触らせなさいよ。こんな美少女に胸触ってもらえるのよ。
Yeah, but you shouldn't say it like...
私も触ってみたい。
Ugh. It was difficult when Amane asked, too. It couldn't be avoided, so I tensed up my pecs.
モコってなった。すごい。何これ、硬い。同じ人体とは思えないぞ。
They have to be teasing, right? Amane checked the difference by alternating between touching my chest and her own. What is going on? It was so embarrassing. But I was a tad happy about it. I enjoyed having my body praised as much as anyone. This part is even better, I said, and getting kinda carried away, I tensed up my legs.
カッチカチだ。ほえー、さすがね。すごいなあ、葵くんは。
Haha, how do you like my well-trained thighs?
でもなんかちょっと気持ち悪いね。ここまで来るとちょっとね。このまま持って殴れば凶器になりそうだな。どうしたの、葵くん。
It's nothing. I'm just going to go for another swim. The three girls stared blankly at me as I trudged towards the water.
どうしたんだろう、急に。さあ、男の子はナイーブだから。もうちょっと触りたかったな。
I floated on the surface of the water, along with Hattie, who had followed me, and it seemed to soothe my wounded heart. What did I just read? Out loud, on stream, that I'm getting paid for.
体中ぬるぬる。早くシャワー浴びたい。車椅子が砂でジャリジャリする。
We played at the lake until sunset, then went back to the dormitory.
楽しかった。クワクワ。そうか、ハットも楽しかったか。
Amane seemed satisfied as she spoke to Hattie. I was worried that swimming in the lake might not really appeal to Amane, so I was really glad she enjoyed it. We were chatting a lot as we passed through the gate and saw someone at the entrance.
小鳥ちゃん。ひばりね。
It was Hibari.
よかった。誰もいなくて、
Oh
風もか
no.
かってたし、携帯に電話しても出てくれないから。
Don't you hate it when that happens? You plan out your whole day, you're like, okay, this is the day I leave behind my cell phone, and that's the one day that someone actually calls you for something important. Don't you just hate that? I think we've all been there.
ごめん、気づかな。ぐわ。
Kotari gasped as she looked at the cell history on her cell phone, the call history on her cell phone. She had an unbelievable amount of missed calls from Hibari.
心配したんだから。どこ行ってたの、小鳥ちゃん。
Sorry, I went to swim at the lake with everyone.
泳ぎに？
Hibari seemed puzzled as she looked at Kotari. It looked like she had not expected Kotori to go swimming.
そうだったんだ。
We hadn't known that Hibari was coming that day. It was always quite sudden, but usually either myself or Kaneko were in the dormitory. However, Kaneko had gone back home yesterday. Everyone was now on their Obon holiday. Not sure what that is. I unlocked the front door. Please, come on in.
今日はここでもう行かなくちゃいけないの。
Hibari looked at Kotori.
小鳥ちゃんは帰らないのよね。お父さんも母さんも小鳥ちゃんに会いたがってたわ。いい、帰らない。ここにいる方が楽しいもん。
Now she wants to stay. That's great.
小鳥ちゃん、そうよね。こんなにたくさんお友達もできたし。ごめんね、ひばりね。後で電話だけしてあげてね。わかった。水瀬さん、小鳥ちゃんのことよろしくお願いします。
Yes, I'm keeping an eye on her. So please feel safe in the knowledge that everything's alright on your way home. What do you mean, keeping an eye on me? Grumbled Kotori.
それからこれ。
Pah! She took out a great big styrofoam box and opened the lid. Inside was...
おお、お肉だ。お中元でいただいたの。どうぞ皆さんで食べてくださいね。さすがひばりさん。お肉、お肉。
This was the second time that Agea and Amane had met Hibari. Since we had joined the Soaring Club, Hibari had been to the dormitory a few times.
それじゃあ行くわね、小鳥ちゃん。またね。お父さんとお母さんによろしく。
What a great day everyone had.
第1回焼肉争奪紙飛行機大会。
Agea declared in a loud voice. It was a competition where we all made a paper airplane and the person whose plane flew the furthest won. The reason we were doing this was because the meat that Hibari brought over varied in type and size. There were lots of types of meat, but if divided amongst everyone evenly, we would only get a little of each. Beef. I want to eat a belly full of loin and ribs. All of the girls had said they wanted the beef, so we had to hastily arrange a way to decide who got what. The method chosen was the paper airplane, which embodied the peaceful spirit of the Soaring Club.
この戦いだけは負けられない。ふふふ。アゲハちゃんスペシャルを見せてやるわ。
We all started to work on folding our paper airplanes. They were just regular paper planes made from a single piece of paper. We came up with our own ways of folding them, and the paper airplanes that we produced were all different shapes. Everybody was serious about this. The meat and our pride was on the line. Have you finished?
できたわ。オッケー。私もだ。
We each held the paper airplanes that we had made and stood next to each other in a line. We'll throw them at the same time when the signal is given. There will be no complaining about the results.
前置きはいいから早く始めましょう。もうお腹ペコペコだ。どうせ勝つのは私だけどね。
All right, get ready. Everybody had a serious look on their face. Bang! We all threw our paper airplanes at the same time. The 4 paper airplanes cut through the darkness of the night.
いけー！よし、いいぞ！頑張れ！
This looks bad. The first one to fall was Amane's. It wobbled ungracefully as it flew, then suddenly lost speed and crashed to the ground. Rust and pepperoni. The next paper airplane to fall was mine. Kotori and Ageas were the only ones left, so it was now a 2-horse race. Amane and I, who were now spectators, watched over the battle with nervous anticipation. Their 2 paper airplanes, graceful on the wind, flew right across the garden. Can paper airplanes really fly this far? I thought as I watched on, impressed. It was a close finish. Alright. Agea folded her arms in protest. As they glided towards the ground, the 2 planes kept inching forward. Just as they touched down, Agea's plane had caught on a clump of grass. It did seem that Agea would have won had there been no obstructions. Have we seen that face on Kotori yet? I don't think we have. She's so smug. Keeping that too. That's alright, isn't it? The second place person still gets to eat the beef. Amane looked down at her own plane, dejected. Poor Amane. She's in the gliding club, right? Fat from the meat was spitting off the hot plate. Yeah, that's what I just said. Amane slowly ate her chicken while continuing to look all downhearted. Things like that can happen, you know? The 4 paper airplanes from the competition were lined up next to the hot plate. The one I made was just the mediocre regular type. Kotori had worked on the tips of hers a little, and the back of the wings were bent slightly, probably to give it more lift. Agea's was folded somewhat more elaborately than Kotori's. Then there was Amane's. I couldn't possibly imagine how she folded it, but it was a pretty complicated shape. Amane put her hands to her chest and hung her head. It wasn't that there was a problem with the design, but rather her clumsiness when it came to making it. Agea's plane was able to fly smoothly. Kotori's plane was well devised and was also precisely folded. Aw, now it's her turn to get a hug, man. She looked on with envy at the beef loin and ribs that Kotori and Agea were eating. Just rub it in harder, man, why don't you? I wanted to eat the beef too, but to be honest, anything is okay. The pork and chicken were really tasty. We ate our dinner while chatting excitedly. On the TV that had been left on in the dining hall for some reason, a program called Natural Geographical had just started, not copywritten. It was a program that covered Japanese people who are active in various fields.
Amane senpaiも将来この番組に出るかもしれませんね。Amaneちゃん、テレビに出して大丈夫かしら？きっと変な発言するわよ。それがいいじゃないの？先輩美人だし、テレビ映えするよ。
As they sat there saying these things right in front of her, they turned their focus back to the TV. A middle-aged man with a beard and a white coat appeared.
あ、この人知ってる。なんとかってバクテリアからバイオ燃料を生成する技術を発明した人だよね。
Oh, that's pretty cool.
発明家ってさ、変な人多いよね。奇人変人っていうの？
I'd seen this guy several times on TV. He developed several new technologies, some of which we now use in our everyday lives. He was pretty odd, an eccentric weirdo, as Kotori put it. However, at the same time, he was able to express complex issues in a simple way that anyone could understand.
私この人好きだな。ちょっと天然入ってて愛嬌あるしね。そうね。なんか誰かに似てる気がする。誰だろう。父だ。
Okay, plot twist. Amane had been focused on eating and lifted her head to look at the TV.
何が？ほら、今テレビに映っている。
Everyone looked back at the TV again. There on the screen, it said Takashi Mochizuki, inventor.
望月。嘘。
Speaking of which, I had a feeling she said once that her dad was an inventor. So, that man is Amane's dad?
ああ、そうだ。おかしいか？
Is that weird? I'm not sure what you'd call it. He was really famous. Bewildered, everyone looked over at Amane, who looked up happily as she took a bite of pork.
本当にはわさび醤油が合うな。今、あまねちゃん映った。
Behind Mr. Mochizuki, who was being interviewed, there was a glimpse of a girl in a white coat.
ああ、父の仕事を手伝った時のものだな。そういえばテレビの取材があるって張り切っていたな。
She's so casual about all this. She spoke like she was talking about things that had happened to someone else. Through a mouthful of pork, she said, "Oh," again.
今、父が紹介している発明品は私が設計したものだぞ。
I recognized the invention that Takashi was proudly introducing. It was a hot topic for a while. It sold really well and made it to the morning news.
グライダー製作の費用はそれらの特許収入から出しているんだ。
Well, I mean, that explains that. That explains a lot, actually. Wow. She explained it like it was completely normal, but...
どうりで資金が潤沢なはずだわ。普段ボケボケってしてるけど、あまねちゃんって本当はすごい人だったのね。
I think these two have a newfound respect for her. Recently, I'd been around her all the time, so I just thought of her as a strange girl, but she really is an incredible person. I went a little pale when I thought about whether or not it was alright to throw someone like that off the top of a rock.
私は引退したらここの研究所に入って父の仕事を手伝うことになっている。留年を重ねたせいで父には随分迷惑をかけてしまった。
Once again, on the screen, there was Amane helping her father. She was good looking and she looked great on TV. The others were no longer making a fuss about it. It all seemed strangely real now that they could see what Amane's life would look like after she left school.
あまねちゃん、これ。
Kochari put a piece of grilled beef rib on Amane's little dish.
いいのか？
A sacrifice to the inventor we are not worthy.
これもどうぞ。
Agea gave her some beef loin.
ありがとう。やったー！牛肉だー！
Since the topic of her leaving school had unexpectedly come up, a feeling of sadness had settled around the dinner table. Yeah, I guess so. That was a really eventful day, wasn't it? Wow. Between the beach and the inventor father and all that, wow. Well, the inventor girl, Amane's an inventor. She holds a patent and she gets money from it. It's crazy. Kochari groaned as she turned the pages of the book, which was all written in English. Did you find anything?
なんとなくはわかるんだけど。ひばりね、早く帰ってこないかな。そしたら訳してもらうのに。
Kochari was reading a book about morning glory and other similar phenomena. It seemed like there were only a few records of such things occurring in Kazagara. It would be great if there were more articles about the phenomena that have occurred in Kazagora.
しょうがないわ。何せ十数年に一度あるかないかのレアな現象だし。
When it happened 26 years ago, it was very sudden and was heralded by TV crews and newspapers as a rare phenomenon. If the photo the Soaring Club had taken back then had appeared on social media, then the public's reaction would have been very different. They didn't have the internet then like we do now, so we've only been able to find articles and records from that time in the library. But we only knew a little about this phenomena.
どうやらあの雲の回廊は最低でも十数キロの長さはあるみたいね。
Kotori showed me the maps that she'd made herself. The scale was based on what other people had seen. The cloud was pretty long, and went diagonally across the lake, and then just kept going and going.
夜明け前に生まれて、日が昇ってしばらくしたら消えてしまうみたい。
How long does it last?
さあ、せいぜい2、3時間ってところじゃないかしら。雲の周りに強い上昇気流があって、それに乗ればグライダーで渡っていくこともできるそうよ。OB の人たちはそうやって撮影したんでしょうね。
I see. When water vapor rises into the sky, it is cooled down by the cold air, creating clouds. The shape of the clouds depends on the movement of the air, so there is a strong connection between clouds and updrafts.
いつ起こるのかわからないんじゃ、準備のしようもないよ。
There were only 10 days left of the summer break. The countdown to Amane quitting the school had begun. Before then, we hoped to pass through the cloud corridor. No matter how good our glider was or how well we could pilot it, if the morning glory didn't appear, there was nothing we could do.
こんなとこかな。
Agea, who had been working on something by herself, wiped the sweat from her brow and took a breather. What have you been doing?
コックピット作ってたの。
Huh? She had attached pedals and a stick that was like a yoke to the chair. To me, it didn't look like a cockpit.
もう何よその顔は。これただのおもちゃじゃないんだからね。
Is she trying to make a handicap cockpit for Kotori to fly? Agea took a cable that extended from the mock cockpit and plugged it into the computer. Kotori was intrigued and leaned over to look.
シミュレーターを起動して。
I turned it on as she said. Agea sat down in the mock cockpit and pushed the yoke to one side. Then...
動いた。ラダーペダルは上々。
Could it be?
シミュレーター用コックピットよ。
Ah, okay. It's a little different than what I thought. Operating the pedals and yoke attached to the chair controlled the aircraft shown on the monitor. It was as if she had cast a spell on it.
これならより本物に近い操作感が得られるでしょ。
I don't know if you guys have ever seen people who go all out with their Microsoft Flight Simulator cockpits. They go all out. It's crazy. Like they make it as close to an actual plane as possible. So it's kind of what Agea is doing here. Agea moved out of the way and I sat down to try it. Whoa! This is great! It really moves!
どうやったの？このくらい簡単よ。時間ができたら作ろうって思ってたの。天音先輩もよかったら試してみてください。
Amane, who was sitting in front of the drawing board, lifted her head up.
何か言ったか？天音ちゃん、こっち来て。これで練習したら天音ちゃんももっと上手になれるって。
Amane came over and took a good look at the cockpit that Agea had made.
ね、すごいでしょ？こんなの作っちゃうなんて、アゲハすごい。いや、だから本当に大したものじゃないんだって。
Go ahead, Amane.
どれどれ？わあ、本当だ。 これはいい訓練になるな。
While muttering, I should have made it like this from the beginning, Amane operated the simulator for a while.
ウインチが戻ってくるまでの間、少しでも練習できればと思って。アゲハ偉い。
I got a lot of people watching. Hello, everyone. Hope you enjoy the stream. Just as a reminder, this game is still available physically for the Switch, but there are not many copies left. It's less than 100. I think it's less than 25 that are available. So if you guys want this game physically for the Switch, go over to PlayAsia, get it while you can. For some reason, Kotori sounded the happiest. Since the winch had broken down, our club activities had grinded to a halt, and we couldn't stand just waiting for time to pass. That's why everyone was looking for something to do. The feeling that we were making even a little progress lifted everyone's spirits.
これはよくできてるな。こうして座ることでより臨場感が増す。
Is she getting a fear of heights right now, sitting in the chair on ground level? Amane was trembling.
シミュレーターなのに怖いぞ。
Wow.
それにも慣れることができて一石二鳥じゃない。
While I was listening to their conversation from a distance, I took a glance at the drawing board. When she had spare time, Amane was always at the drawing board. She had drawn some new blueprints, but the aircraft had already been completed. Even so, I wondered what it was she had been drawing. It's a glider. The shape of the wings is different, though. The main wings were a bit further forward in relation to the fuselage. The outline was strange and quite different to the airplanes I was used to.
相変わらず暇そうだな。
The voice came out of the blue. I looked around and saw that Mr. Tobioka had come into the garage. Everyone stopped talking and started acting warily of him.
何かと思えばゲームで遊んでるのか。それがソアリング部の活動なのか？
Mr. Tobioka's sudden appearance and snide comments grated on Kotori. She looked ready to snap at him.
ダメだよ小鳥。わかってるわよ。何かご用ですか？
山野辺先生が放任しているようなのでな。代わりに私が見に来てやったんだ。
Mr. Yamanobe was our advisor, but he hardly ever came here. That could be because of the pressure from Mr. Tobioka. If he were to become actively involved with the club, he would become a target for Mr. Tobioka.
姫木、こんなお遊びのためにロボット部を辞めたのか。お前には期待していたんだぞ。
お遊びじゃありません。
Agea retorted sharply, without showing any fear of Mr. Tobioka. He frowned in frustration.
こんな部を選んだこと、いずれ後悔するぞ。
そうならないよう努力します。
It looked like she had more to say, but she held it back.
望月、また飛んだらしいな。
はい、テストフライトをしました。ちゃんと活動しないと生徒会に怒られるので。
その時、ウインチが故障したらしいじゃないか。
なんでそんなこと知ってんのよ。
He's not sabotaging them, is he?
あれじゃない？山野辺先生には報告したから。
If something were to happen, just in case, we always told Mr. Yamanobe about everything that we had been doing.
また事故を起こすつもりか。もし怪我人を出したら今度こそ廃部だぞ。と言ってもどの道あと10日か。夏休みが終わればお前も引退なんだ。頼むからそれまではおとなしくしておいてくれ。
はい。
After Mr. Tobioka said what he wanted, he left the garage.
なんなのあいつ。超ムカつくんですけど。ほんと嫌味なおっさんよね。ロボット部やめて正解だったわ。ねえ、あまねちゃん、さっきあいつが言ってた事故って。あまねちゃん。 ああ、分かってる。事故はないようにしなきゃな。いや、そうじゃなくって。お腹が空いた。ご飯を食べてこよう。
Amane had an uneasy smile on her face as she stood up and left the garage.
何あれ。
I have a theory. It involves Isuka.
さあ。ね、事故ってなんだろう。
And that.
わからないけど。
It seemed to upset Amane. It's something in the past that she doesn't want to talk about. As I said that, the other two had a grave look on their faces. Nighttime. After I had a bath, it was about time to go to bed. Amane didn't seem herself today. Even at dinner time, she didn't eat much. Ever since Mr. Tobioka mentioned the accident, I wondered if it had something to do with that. Everybody was worried about her, but it didn't seem like we could ask her about it. I was thinking about it as I walked down the hallway and saw Amane come down from the second floor.
小鳥はいるかな。
She's in her room, I think.
そうか。ありがとう。
Amane knocked on Kotori's door.
あまねちゃん？
Kotori poked her head out of her room and was surprised to see Amane there. This was probably the first time she'd gone to see Kotori in a room like this.
少しいいかな。いいけど、入る？
Kotori invited her in, and Amane went inside the room. Kotori went to close the door, then noticed I was there. It looked like she wanted to tell me to come in as well, but there was no way I could have. Eventually, she closed the door.
Quack. 何か言おうかな、あまねちゃん。懐かしいな。ここは昔イスカの部屋だったんだな、ハット。あの頃何度か遊びに来たことがあった。ハット用の出入り口を作るのも手伝ったぞ。そうだったんだ。どうりで雑なわけね。
Aw, no need to be mean.
あまり変わってないな。私、物が少ないからごちゃごちゃしてると動くのに邪魔になるし。部屋を見に来たの？ああ、そうだった。借りていたこれを返そうと思って。これイスカの高校日誌じゃない。返すってどういうこと？それは小鳥のものだろ。違うわ。私は見つけただけで、これは私のものでもないぞ。でもあまねちゃんが持っているべきよ。だって親友だったんでしょ。イスカは私に見せたくてそれをここに残したわけじゃない。もしそうなら直接渡すかガレージに置いてたはずだ。そうだけどこの部屋にあったんだろ。そこの棚と棚の隙間に挟まっていたの。隠してたみたいだった。君が持っておくべきだと思う。イスカもそう思ってるはずだ。あまねちゃんがそれでいいなら私も君に持っていてほしい。わかった。ここに来たおかげでまたハットにも会えた。楽しい夏休みだったな。あまねちゃんまだ終わってないわ。でもモーニンググローリーは来るから。絶対怒るから。小鳥が言うと本当にそうなりそうだな。なるもん。それじゃあもう寝るよ。おやすみ小鳥。ハット。 おやすみ。わあ。というわけなのよ。
In the corner of the garage, hiding from where Amane was, Kotori, Agea, and I were whispering to each other.
じゃあ、Amane先輩から返してきたんだ。
Kotori was telling us the details about what had happened in her room last night. Seems pretty meaningful.
でしょ？だからもう私、どうしたらいいかわからなくって。身辺整理ってことなんじゃないかな。もう引退も間近なわけだし。
And what a sad thought.
やだ、そんな悲しいこと言わないでよ。私だって言いたかないわよ。でもしょうがないじゃない。
Usually, even if you quit a club, you are still coming to school. However, in Amane's case, she had already gained enough credits, so if she passed her exams, she would be able to graduate. As she told us before, after she left, she would go back home to help her father with his work. Hi, Lizzie Bear, how you doing? She probably wouldn't come by the school anymore. When we thought about it, we all started to feel gloomy. Because Amane gave Isuka's flight log back to Kotori last night, we were even more aware of the current situation.
これ、ほとんど日記だね。イスカはグライダー制作の知識はほとんどなくて、実質、Amaneちゃんが作ってたみたいなの。
According to the diary, it seemed Isuka was the pilot. Amane built it, and Isuka flew it. It looked like those were their roles. I remember when we first joined the club that Amane said there was no pilot. That must be what she was talking about. The log had all the details of the production process. Rather than being a flight log, it was more like a production log, so I wondered why Isuka called it a flight log. But it seemed that Isuka wasn't a particularly diligent writer, so there were many days where nothing had been written. Yeah, it is, Lizzie. But hey, the beginning of the stream was pretty hilarious. So everything balances out. There were a lot of things that wouldn't mean anything if someone else were to read them. For example, it was pointless talking to her about that thing. She doesn't know anything about what it's like to be young. And so on. The only ones who would understand was the person who wrote it and, most likely, Amane.
やっぱりこれってAmane先輩にとって大切なものなんじゃ。だから返そうとしたのよ。でも私に持っていてほしいって。なんでだろう。私が見つけたからかな。
She might think of it as something you've inherited.
受け継いだ？何を？
Isuka's dreams. You came to the Soaring Club because you found it, didn't you? So, don't you think that maybe Isuka brought you here?
そっか。Amane先輩からすれば、イスカさんの思いが小鳥を動かしたようにも見えるわけね。
That's actually a really beautiful thought. Isuka's dreams of longing for the sky was revealed here in the flight log. If those dreams are what inspired Kotori, it could be said that she had inherited them.
そうなのかな?
Try to remember, at the beginning, when we were talking about getting new members, Amane wasn't very positive about it. But when you brought that photo in the flight log, her attitude completely changed, didn't it?
そういや、そうだったね。あの時は事情が分からずにいたけど、Amane先輩にとってはすごく運命的な出来事だったんだろうね。
Kotori, who felt a heavy sense of responsibility, made a serious face as she drifted into deep thought.
ところでさ、気になることがあるんだけど。
Agea flicked through the flight log.
あった、ここ。
At some point, I won't be able to stay here, was written there. It didn't have much of a connection to the context before or after what was written. It just appeared and seemed out of place.
なんだろうね、これ。
Also, the same kind of thing appears several times.
これ、学校を辞めちゃうってことかな。
Upon reading more, it didn't really say why she had to leave.
何か事情があったのよ。ここから去らなきゃならない理由が。じゃあ、イスカさんがいなくなったのは事故とは関係ないってこと？それはわからない。けど、ハマネちゃんがモーニンググローリーを飛びたがってるのはイスカのためなんだよね。
Kotobi opened a page in the log. This was what was written there. I still can't forget the emotion I felt when I saw that photo. That such a beautiful view could exist right above the town where we live, in the sky that is always there. Even so, Amane didn't seem so surprised and looked like she wasn't moved at all. That's why I want to take her with me. When she sees it in real life, even Amane will be brought to tears, and she'll be moved by it, no doubt about it. This is the page where the photo had been placed inside the book. You might be right. There's no way that Amane, who feared heights, would want to fly above the clouds. Despite that, she was causing problems for her father and continued to stay at school, becoming the super repeat student. She must want to see that view that Isuka had wanted to show her.
Amane-chan, なんだ?
Hello! Kotobi jolted upright in her wheelchair and hastily hid the flight log behind her back.
さっきから何をこそこそ話してるんだ？なんでもないの、アマネちゃん。そうそう、こっちの話ですから。
Amane looked at me. Like she says, just talking amongst ourselves. Amane pouted as I answered. She actually looks mad about that. Oh no, she's really upset. She had been concentrating on the drawing board and I thought she wouldn't notice what we were doing. Well, thanks, Kotobi. Now we've got to plan the party. Sounds like it'll be a nice party, don't get me wrong, but now we gotta actually plan for it. Kotobi's voice faded away. Although she used it as an excuse in the heat of the moment, we didn't really want to talk about Amane leaving. In place of Kotobi, who had fallen silent, I continued with the story. We were planning it in secret because we wanted to surprise you. We're going to prepare all your favorite things. It seemed that she believed us and returned to her work at the drawing board again. That's fine. Let's have a farewell party. I nodded in agreement with Kotobi. I didn't want to say goodbye to Amane. However, if that's the way it had to be, I wanted to make sure we gave her a proper send-off. Alright. Is this the only thing you need? Interesting. I followed Amane into the stationery store. I had gone shopping with Amane. It was what you might call a bag carrier. Even so, spending time with Amane, just the two of us, could be called one of the perks of the job. Nope. Shall we head back?
今日はありがとう。おかげでいっぱい買えた。
No, it's no problem at all. Amane had brought paper and equipment for drawing and some other tools, but I didn't know what they were used for. The amount and weight of her shopping would have been too much for Amane to carry by herself.
けど、どうして急に買い出しに付き合ってくれたんだ?
Well, I thought it might be tough to do it by yourself. The truth was, I had been entrusted with a secret mission. While the others prepared for the farewell party, I had to buy them some time. A few days ago, it was hastily decided that we would hold a farewell party, but we still wanted to surprise Amane. In order to do that, we decided to keep the day of the party a secret. Right now, Kotori and the others would be proceeding with the preparations at the dormitory. I hope they can handle it. They had called for some help, so they told me to not worry. Huh? Amane, where are you going? Amane had started to walk in the opposite direction, to the school.
荷物を持って帰るんだ。飛び多そうに。
Why? Aren't you going to put them in the garage?
ああ、これは寮で作業できるように買ったものだからな。
Really? That explained why she was buying large amounts of the exact same things she had on her desk in the garage.
どうしたんだ? 帰らないのか?
Well, this is bad. If she goes back to the dormitory now, they'll be caught in the middle of the preparations. Why don't we go for a little stroll?
別に構わないが。
She seemed a little puzzled, but she agreed to it. Okay, let's go. As far as possible. Smooth, Aoi. Real smooth. As far as possible. Following that idea, I chose the course for the stroll. We took a detour past the lake along the promenade. Then I noticed that we were walking up a gentle slope. Oh, look where we are.
これは見事だな。
Amane let out a sigh as though she was impressed by the sight of the windmills lined up along the gently sloping hill. Is this the first time you've seen them?
下から見るのはな。湖越しにか、空の上からしか見たことなかった。
Not many people would have seen this place from the sky. I was one of those few people. I felt quite proud of that.
ここは自然エネルギーの研究施設だったな。私が慶風学園に来た頃にはまだ建設中だった。
That was just after I had moved away from here. I see. At that time, Amane was already a student of Keifu Academy. You were in the robotics club first year, and after that, you joined the soaring club, didn't you?
ああ、そうだ。入ったというより、部を作ったという言い方が正しいな。
Together with Isuka, is that right? For a moment, Amane looked at me in a mysterious way, then nodded. She must find it strange to hear us use Isuka's name.
私はイスカに誘われたんだ。イスカがあの写真やガレージを見つけてきて、ソアリング部を作ろうと言い出した。
I wish I could have seen it.
何をだ?
You at that time. Amane at the same age as Kotori and Agea. Amane looked at her own body again.
今とそう変わらないと思うぞ。
She must have looked as good back then as well. Her looks aside, I couldn't imagine Amane Mochizuki as a junior student. She might not have changed much, though, since she had left the robotics club. What did you do in the club back then?
それも今とそんなに変わらない。グライダーを作って飛ばそうとしてた。あの頃の私はグライダーにあまり興味がなく、ただイスカが写真の場所へ行ってみたいと言うから、それを手伝っている感覚だった。
Is it different now?
航空工学は私の専門分野ではないが、研究してみると面白い発見がたくさんあった。それにみんなと、小鳥やアゲハや葵くんと一緒に何かをするのが楽しい。主翼が完成した時のことを覚えているかい？
Yes, of course.
あの時嬉しかったんだ。みんなの力が、いや、気持ち、うまく言えないが、それが形になったような気がして。だから飛ぶのは怖かったけど、テストフライトが楽しみだった。
Amane. Without realizing, I felt taken aback. I usually never knew what she was thinking, but now I knew that she felt the same way.
きっと何でもいいんだと思う。みんなが夢中になれるものなら。
It just happened to be the glider. The rest of us would probably say the same thing.
ずっと知りたかったんだ。イスカが夢中になってた理由を。
Amane looked into the distant view on the other side of the lake.
あの雲の回廊を飛べば、それがわかるかもしれない。
So, that's why it's your goal. She would get to that place, even if she was alone. Maybe even now, Amane wasn't really into that into making gliders. What she was chasing after was not the sky, but Isuka. Where is Isuka now? The question that I had been on the verge of asking before just slipped out. Amane looked at the windmills turning slowly in the wind.
さあ、わからない。どこかへ行ってしまった。
Amane was smiling. Not like she was sad or lonely, but like she had given up. I regretted asking such a direct question. Not knowing what to say next, I looked up at the windmills with her. Every time I saw them, it was such a tranquil scene. It made me feel that living in such a rush was foolish.
それにしても暑いな。ソーラーパネルが大活躍だな。
Yeah. As well as the windmills, there were also solar panels to generate electricity. Under the sun, in the middle of summer, they must be working like crazy right now.
そろそろ帰ろうか。
Huh? Well, maybe we could stay for a little longer. I checked the time on my cell phone and it was still a bit too early.
でも暑いぞ。ほら、汗がこんなに。
She pulled her sweaty clothes away from her chest. Agea had said once that area got the most sweaty. Let's go to the convenience store. I'll buy you an ice cream.
アイスか。いいな。
Amane looked like she was about to drool and immediately started walking. I carried the bags as I chased after her.
私はストロベリーのやつがいいな。甘酸っぱくて美味しいな。
Go ahead, have as much as you like. In order to give the others enough time, it looked like I would need to get her to eat about 2 or 3 ice creams. We were going to be eating later, but that shouldn't be a problem for Amane.
ただいま。
As we walked through the front door, Amane was surprised by the sound of the crackers going off. The first thing she said to Kotori and Agea was,
今日は私の誕生日だ。
I wouldn't put it past her to not know.
違うって。自分の誕生日覚えてないの？さあさあ、どうぞ奥へ。おう。
I wouldn't put it past her to not know what her birthday was. With a puzzled look on her face, Amane was led into the dining hall. As she entered, she was amazed by what had been prepared for her. I followed them inside and let out a little gasp. The dining table was overflowing with food.
すごい。美味しそうな食べ物がいっぱいだ。気に入ってくれたみたい。まずは成功だね。
Kotori and Agea smiled at each other.
天音先輩、長い間お疲れ様でした。
There's a fly right here. Sorry, guys.
忘れちゃったの？送別会するって言ってたでしょ？
Until Kotori mentioned it, it seemed like Amane completely forgotten about it.
忘れなきゃいけないと思ってたから頑張ったんだ。
If you tried your best to forget something, wouldn't that just make the memory more vivid? Sorry, Amane. I didn't want you to see them preparing everything, so that's why I've been dragging you around to different places.
約束だよね。天音先輩とデートできちゃうなんて。
Hey, that's not what this is about!
あれはデートだったのか。
No! I just said!
初めてした。そうか、あれがデートなのか。引退前にまた一ついい思い出ができた。
Oh.
だって喜んでもらえたみたいよ。
Well, in that case. Ah, yeah.
赤くなってる。やらしい。
Shut up, will ya? More importantly, you guys have done a great job getting all the food ready. By the looks of it, Western food was the main focus here. Most of it was Italian or French, but I wasn't sure of the names of the dishes. There were things roast beef and whole cooked chicken, which made it look like a full-course meal at a restaurant.
ひばりねに手伝ってもらったのよ。
As Kotori said, Hibari, who couldn't wait any longer, came into the dining hall.
こんばんは、天音さん。こんばんは。小鳥ちゃんに頼まれてお手伝いさせてもらいました。
Oh, I see. So that's why.
言っときますけど、私たちもちゃんと手伝ったんだからね。ねえ。
Then, after Hibari, Tatsuya came in. We invited him to surprise Amane.
あまね、引退おめでとう。
達也、ありがとう。いいのかな、私たちも混ぜてもらって。
いいんじゃねえの？俺らも草むしり手伝ったんだし。
Hotaru and Matsutsugu were here too. Like Matsutsugu said, they did help, and at times like this, the more the merrier.
パーティーと聞いちゃ黙ってられないからね。
Hello, Kaneko. Oh, fighting. I'll let my team know about that. Thanks for letting me know. Hopefully I'll have more info for you next time I stream. I will be streaming that game again on Tuesday and Friday. So, yeah, hopefully we can get a patch issued to fix that. Kaneko? I thought you went back home.
追い出されてきた。
Uh-huh. She must have been wandering around in her underwear again. We couldn't leave her out of the party. She had helped prepare everything too.
わあ、賑やかだな。
Just about everyone's here. It was almost like she was talking about someone else's party.
主役はあまねちゃんよ。そうそう。今日は先輩の送別会ですからね。そうだった。ありがとう、みんな。さあ、今夜は飲んで歌ってじゃんじゃん騒ごう。おー。
Don't go too crazy. This building's old and falling apart, you know. I mean, considering she goes for days where she forgets to eat, I'm sure she definitely could eat all of this.
相変わらずだわね。がっかり感が半端ないわね。
Everyone always sighs when they see the way that Amane eats, and it clashes with her good looks.
どうしたんだみんな。なんでもないわ。料理気に入ってもらえてよかったです。美味しい。すごいな。今日の料理は豪華だな。ひばり姉が腕を振るってくれたからね。小鳥ちゃんの大切な先輩さんなんですもの。半端なお料理は出せないわ。
They have the same eyes. Hibari emphasized the point. She's a good person, but when it came to Kotori, she always got very serious.
このチキン美味しいな。
She chowed down the grilled chicken with complete lack of manners. I felt a little sad to think that I would no longer be able to witness Amane's excited eating.
ついに天音も引退か。もっとも最初はまだ続けてたことに驚いたけどな。
父にたくさん迷惑をかけた。これからは親孝行しないといけない。
お前の口から親孝行なんて言葉が聞けるなんてな。
ねえねえ、あんちゃんもソアリング部を復活させた時のメンバーなの？
俺か？俺は違うぞ。後から誘われたんだ。
By Amane?
どうだったかな。
達也を誘ったのはミスカだ。私が作ったパーツを見てミスカがこれはまずいって言い出して一体何がまずかったのか今でもよくわからないんだが。
When she saw that the Colettes made the part, she's like, okay, I'm going to a professional. Tatsuya, you want to come over here, help a girl out? That's exactly what happened. Amane didn't understand, but we knew why. And that's when she asked Tatsuya?
あんちゃんは昔から工場の手伝いしてて、その手の加工技術はお手の物だったもんね。それもあるが。あるが？おっと、これは誰にも言っちゃいけないってイスカから言われていたんだった。危ない危ない。
I was very curious to know what she had been going to say. I wanted to ask her in detail, but since it was something private, I decided not to.
それってやっぱあれじゃない？ね
え。今のソアリング部を始めたのはイスカとアマネだ。当時は2人だけだったんだ。
2人でできたんですか？部活に。
当時の生徒会は甘かったからな。特にアマネには。何せ学校創立以来の天才少女だ。先生も大抵のことには目をつぶっていた。
そうだったのか。
She is so oblivious. Also eating. As Amane slurped her soup, she spoke as if she were talking about someone else again.
私は天才なんかじゃないのにな。イスカにいつもバカだバカだと言われていた。アマネ先輩のことをそんな風に言えちゃうなんて。イスカってそんなにすごい子だったの？ああ、イスカは天才だった。
Amane answered proudly as if Isuka was her own. A genius that surpassed Amane Mochizuki. I can't imagine that. I looked over towards Tatsuya, who shrugged his shoulders and smiled.
確かイスカが見つけてきたんだよな。ガレージとそこに眠っていたグライダーを。
Amane nodded as she hungrily took a bite of chicken.
ある日突然言ってきたんだ。すごいものを見つけたって。それでグライダーを飛ばすことになった。
Not much was explained in detail, but that was how Amane was all the time, so I didn't bother.
お前たちが乗っているあの機体も元は OB が自作したものにアマネたちが手を加えたんだぞ。
私ずっとアマネちゃんたちが全部作ったんだと思ってた。OB の人たちもすごかったんだね。
Hearing about the achievements of the past club members made our own achievements seem quite insignificant. We had to work harder. While we talked about the history of the Soaring Club, the guests who didn't have much to do with it were enjoying the food.
マー君、これ美味しいよ。ベーコンが巻いてあるやつ。
どれどれ。おほ、マジでうめえ。いいな、こういう飯。うちじゃラーメンと餃子ばっか食わされてるからな。
うちもお父さんが洋食嫌いだから、あんまりこういうの食べたことないよ。おかわりどんどんしてね。まだたくさんあるから。あ、はい。小鳥さんのお姉さん、優しいね。
しかも超美人じゃねえか。葵のやつ、いい生活しやがって。
おかわり。はいはい、ただいま。
It's okay, I'll do it.
いいのよ。水瀬さんは座ってて。
Hibari smiled and went back into the kitchen.
ひばりさんってさ、絶対いいお嫁さんになるよね。彼氏とかいるのかな。どこの馬の骨ともわからないやつにお姉ちゃんをあげる気はないからね。付き合う相手はこの私が厳しく審査するわ。
I don't doubt her.
こっちはこっちでシフコン丸だしね。違うわよ。私はただひばり姉が大好きなだけで。
That excuse didn't help at all. Well, it's good for sisters to get along.
ハバネの姉ちゃんってあんちゃんと同い年くらい？
かな。
We all looked at Tatsuya, then at Amane.
ってことは先輩とも同じくらいか。はい、お待たせしました。
Hibari put a second plate of chicken down on the table in front of Amane. If Amane hadn't become the super repeat student and had graduated normally, maybe she would have ended up more like Hibari. Nah, there's no way that could happen. She would have swapped her school uniform for a white coat and joined her dad working in the lab. Maybe her lifestyle wouldn't be that different to how it is now.
そういやさ、あまねちゃん、いつもなんか書いてるよね。あれって何の設計図なの？
Kotadi asked the question we had all been wondering.
ああ、それ私も気になってた。
Of course, I was curious about it as well. Here's my guess. Since the glider that they're using is the one that was built earlier, maybe Amane wants to build her own. From scratch. Just an idea.
グライダーだが？でももう完成してるじゃないですか。
Kotadi nodded. Amane wiped her mouth and stood up. She left the dining hall and came back with a roll of paper.
これか？
Amane laid out the blueprints. It was a glider, but the shape was different to ours. The wings protruded further forward from the body.
何これ？翼の形が違う。他にも改良されてるわね。胴体の形は同じだけど、ほら、こことか。
Agea pointed out all the differences in detail. There was a considerable amount of changes.
これは本当は作るはずだった機体なんだ。本当は作るはずだった？
Amane nodded.
さっき達也が言ってたけど、今の機体は旧ソアリング部の先輩方が自作したものだ。
Guess I was right.
すごくよくできたいい機体だけれど、細部まで煮詰められてはいない。おそらく外国の有名な機体を真似て作ったせいだろう。機能を理解しないまま模倣した形跡がある。そこへ私なりに改良を加えてみた。
We all eagerly looked at the designs. Even when I did see the differences, I couldn't tell what had been improved. But the old members used our aircraft to fly above the clouds, didn't they? They also took that photo. In which case, the design specs must be good enough, right?
当時の高校日誌によると、あの時のフライトは飛行機曳航だったらしい。
Their launch method used a tow plane instead of a winch. That meant they relied on another plane to get the glider into the air.
じゃあ最初からかなりの高度まで上がれたわけか。
Amane nodded.
しかし我々に飛行機はない。私はウインチ曳航で少しでも高く飛べるよう設計の細部まで煮詰め直すことにしたんだ。
The result was the blueprints in front of us.
でも結局作らなかったのよね。
Kotori's question was answered by Tatsuya.
ボディに加工を加えているし、主翼を一から作り直す必要もある。これを実現しようと思ったら相当な時間と費用が必要になっただろう。
If they had been working on this from the start, Tatsuya would have been at the center of the production.
できなくはないだろうが、難しかっただろうな。
それに設計図はまだ完成していない。なかなかアイデアがまとまらないんだ。私はバカだからな。
If Amane couldn't do it, it would be impossible for anyone else to. Amane carelessly folded up the designs, put them to one side, and went back to eating.
アイシールが跳ねる。お姉ちゃんそれどっかやっといて。はーい。
Hibari moved the designs to a place where they wouldn't get dirty. That's classic Amane. After the meal, we went out into the yard to set off some fireworks. Since the farewell party had been planned in a hurry, there was a limit to what we'd been able to do. I want to light fireworks for Amane. With Kotori's idea, it was decided. There was no objections. The rest of us also wanted to light fireworks for Amane.
面白いなこれ。色が変わった。ほら見て見て、あまねちゃん。おお、ほんとだ。いいな。私もそれやりたいぞ。
Amane was playing around with handheld fireworks with Kotori. They both seemed to find these fireworks interesting and were enjoying themselves.
ぬるい。ここは一つうちらの流儀を見せておかないといけないわね。
Agea held one of the fountain-type fireworks that are normally placed in the ground in each hand. Then, once you light them, you spin your arms around and chase someone. That was one of our old traditions. Don't!
なんでよ、返してよ。
We finally created a peaceful atmosphere and you're going to mess it up.
ちぇ、葵のノリが悪くなった。あーちゃん、もう大きいんだから子供みたいな遊びはやめようよ。
The younger sister scolded the older one. That was hilarious.
行くぞ、それ！
Matsutsugu came running in from the side. He had lit a lot of pinwheels and was throwing them around all over the place.
うわっ！
へっへっへ、どうだ！
麻婆のアホ！
You idiot! What would you have done if someone got hurt?
ドキドキした。くー、許せない。そのバカ捕まえて。
へへ、ここまでおいで！
あ、逃げた。
Hold it right there!
誰が捕まるかっての！
Ah, look who it is. Matsutsugu ran around like a little monkey, but suddenly stopped in his tracks. Without warning, Tatsuya had grabbed him by the neck.
あんちゃん？
マーボー、ちょっとあっちで話をしようか。
With a soft tone, Tatsuya took Matsutsugu over to the shadows.
あのな、マーボー。楽しむのは大切なことだが、女の子を怖がらせちゃいけない。もう子供じゃないんだ。お前だって女の子に嫌われたくないだろ？
はい。
ああ、あんちゃんを怒らせちゃった。
You were planning to do the same thing, weren't you?
みんな子供だよ。
Sure looks like it.
みんなかき氷できたよ。
Well, that's where I'm saving.
データを上書きするけど大丈夫？
Okay, so yeah, that marks the end of today's playthrough of If My Art Had Wings. I'll be back next Sunday to continue it, and in the meantime, I'll be back Tuesday and Friday to continue my playthrough of Zhuan 7 on PlayStation 4. So yeah, lots of stuff to look forward to. I'm looking forward to it all. I hope you are too. So until Tuesday, or until next Sunday, on behalf of VStageTheSoft, I have been Skull. Have yourselves a great day. Thanks for joining us, Lizzie Bear, and Fighting GM, and anyone else who was lurking. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.